The general fund was $378,816.91. Nutrition fund of $221,696.24. The cooperative fund of $167,667.29. Depreciation $94,198.83. Building fund $819,513.99. QC Puff was $10,000. Employee benefit fund $953.27. Student fee fund $3,063.20. For the month of May, we had $81,489.36 from the activities fund. All these claims were reviewed earlier today by our Finance and Facility Committee. I'll entertain any questions if there are any. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. 4.2, Teaching and Learning Report. Beth Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. The curriculum assessment and instruction had met this month. Our teaching and learning team has spent a couple of days working through some details to support the transition of our new members. We worked on auditing district curriculum materials to help them become acclimated with our process, as well as discussing duties, upcoming training, and some team building activities. Summer plans for the curriculum and the target-based grading work will focus on designing proficiency scales for those classes that are in the target-based grading pilot for next year. The instructional reports that are due to NDE have been submitted, and 21 teachers and administrators will be attending PLC conference at Minneapolis June 23rd through 26th. And the administrative retreats are scheduled and tightly packed with concepts of building a highly reliable school, and specifically on instructional coaching and reviewing data. These will take place on June 12th, 13th, and 19th. In the area of technology, the orders for Chromebooks and interactive flat panels are complete, but shipments have not been received yet. Much of the technology summer work will include security camera installations, physical transferring, management, and updating of Chromebooks, updating laptops, and ensuring we are ready for the beginning of the school year, including the new preschool building. And we did have a curriculum committee meeting, and minutes to that are attached to committee minutes. And Dr. Goebbels has agreed to be our spokesperson, and so if you have any questions, you can absolutely ask her about those. Can I answer any questions?
Okay, thank you, Beth. Student Services Report. 4.3, Mary Laura.
Thank you, Madam President. Summer school is in the second week for all grade levels. K-8 will end on June 28th, and 9-12 will end on June 26th, Wednesday, June 26th. You can find a list of the activity camps at the high school website under athletics and activities. Mrs. Nelson and I worked on our multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, with elementary principals and the middle school principals on Friday, June 6th, and on Thursday, June 6th, and today, June 10th. We'll keep you posted throughout the years. We put things in place, but it was a good long days, but good data and conversations held. Our school nurses attended the State of Nebraska School Health Conference in Kearney on June 3rd and 4th, and the purpose is to stay current with the new health regulations and immunizations that affect school students wishing to enter our public schools. Any questions? Thank you.
Mary, I'm old, and these abbreviations and acronyms
Yeah.
confuse me a little. Would you please remind me about what MTSS is?
Mm-hmm. So what it is we look at how our students, and we look at the core curriculum and how we're performing. There's 3 tiers that we kind of focus on. Tier 1 being 80 to 85% of our kids should hit this goal of achieving academically, behaviorally, and then there's Tier 2 and Tier 1. Tier 2 is 15% of our student population, and Tier 1 is 7 to 1% of our population. Higher tiers, higher interventions or supports that we put in place for our struggling students. So what we're doing is, it's a lot like we refer to SAT process, the beginning stages, but this is really looking at the core curriculum and what we have in place, and then as we see a need for kids to have more interventions, we have that data and the supports in place and the time of intervention throughout the days to provide that for our students so that we can keep them on track with their peers. Does that help? Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. 4.5, Human Resources and Accreditation Report, Mike Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. Let's start with school safety information and talk specifically about threat assessment training. Our district threat assessment team recently attended the training in Neely last week on June 5th and 6th. And just to kind of get you updated, the training focuses on identifying, assessing, and managing threats of violence toward a school community. And the training is really designed to help designated school district personnel understand how to best collaborate with community agencies, i.e. law enforcement, HHS, et cetera, to identify and analyze these threats and develop action plans to effectively address them. Again, student and staff safety is always our top priority, and this is just another way that we're continuing to work hard reviewing our policies and procedures to ensure that we're prepared to respond immediately to any possible emergency situation. Just a little bit of information I shared last time as well with the start of the school year. Our new to the district teacher training begins on Tuesday, August 6th and goes through the 9th. And before we know it, all certified staff will be back on Monday, August 12th. People are like, really? And then the first day of school for students, again, we'll be here before we know it, Wednesday, August 14th. And then below that are the current openings, and evidently in the coaching openings, I got stuck on a question mark. So if you have any questions, I would entertain any questions at this time. Maybe I was asking Ben, are you sure? Yeah. So anyway, if there's any questions, I would entertain them.
I noticed, Mike, that there was a paraprofessional job fair. I just thought it would be interesting to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That was really sort of a tail off of what Melissa Jantz did with the preschool parafair. And so Mary Lure, myself, we got together, worked and set up this room, and it was kind of neat. Every building was represented, and so we had sort of a district table at the front, and there must have been 40 people here that day. I was at the threat assessment training, but Mary was here, and Diana was here. We had people coming in and say, hey, let's get you online. So we went from like 28 applicants to like over 50 in one day. And so the difficult thing was, because there was a lot of really good candidates, they had a choice about, well, you want to go to Woodland Park, you want to come over here? So, but that's a good thing. And that really, I'm glad you asked that question. It really comes about, we're continuing to be innovative about how we want to attract the best talent to our district, because sometimes it's just a matter of, I didn't know that. And so just getting them here, we actually had somebody that came in from out of town specifically, just because they're like, I heard about it, I want to work for the public schools. So Mary, any other comment?
Yeah, we met, it was just a neat turnout. We had people waiting at the door to get in, which is just awesome. So they came up, we greeted them, told them that, feel free to talk to the different, and like it was set up just like a job fair where they walk around to the different schools, find out what openings they had, and then they, we met with the principals. I met with the principals afterwards and just said, what do you want us to change? Do you want to do this again? Those kinds of things. They want to do it again. Have this, because we have a high need of paraprofessionals for the, and we just kind of brainstormed some ideas on what we would do for the interview process, those kinds of things, and how we don't have the discussion of, we've talked about a lot about like maybe it's the person who chooses what's the right place for them when we have that many people that are qualified for the position. So it was a very, very productive day. It was good.
One more thing I would mention that I really appreciated is that, especially the face-to-face, like you can really have people ask questions, especially with some of our driving positions. Like, do I have to drive a semi? No, you don't have to drive a semi. Do I have to get a full-fledged CDL? No. And so like we had our transportation person here, and they could say, this is what it really is. I didn't know that. And so just sort of an eye opener for those staff. And then, in some of our higher need rooms with some of our kids, it's like, oh yeah, you know what, I can do that. And so knowing that they have a support group, knowing that they, have supportive teachers to help them, they're like, okay, yeah, I think I can do that. As opposed to, I think I know what it is, but that really helped with them understanding truly what it is.
I would agree with Mike. Asking Corey Hall to come was key because she was able to describe what it looked like, that there's another person on the bus with you. No, you're not driving a semi, but you are driving a bus and there are kids on it. And that's a scary thing for a lot of people. Yeah. So just knowing that there's another person to help you with the stuff was very, very, very good conversations. It was really fun to see the people come in.
Take applications right then?
It was cool, that we had a station set up over there with online, because we didn't take any paper pencil. We did all online applications. People had applied before. I mean, we get notification of that, and my email was full of all of these things. I was like, yay, another one, yay, another one. So they could fill them out here if they hadn't. We could upload resumes if they brought them. Just Diana was extremely helpful. Christy was up here helping. Corey was up here helping. Morgan came out. I mean, we needed the assistance, and the principals had great conversations with a lot of people. Just, that good question answer.
I don't want to keep belaboring the point, but again, I think one of the other byproducts that came out of this is the collaboration from the administrators to truly understand, you know what, I really like this person, but they're probably a better fit over here. And that is a tribute to our administrators really understanding the big picture about, you may not get what you want, but the district gets what it needs. So.
And if someone applies, but someone else gets the opening, are they available for substitute para positions? Is that something we need?
We had a person come in who applied to be a teaching sub, just that. And then we talk about that, like, would you be available should a position not be filled, or we fill our positions and we still want to keep you, would you be available for subbing, and they just let us know where they, were comfortable. And I agree with Mike, the administrators were great. As they're setting up interviews, they're talking about sharing time to not waste someone's time of having 4 or 5 interviews kind of thing. So it was very nice.
Well, I think these positions are so important. They're student-facing, and the more face time we can get with these people before we hire them, before we get them in our classrooms, is huge. I mean, we can, there's something about face-to-face talking to someone in a little more informal situation like that our principals really have an advantage of ability to learn a little more about them before we get them in a classroom. And it is a tough job as a para, and they are. From when I was in school, I don't even know if we knew what paras were, but it's so important and part of our education system and what our student experience is every day. So I love the concept. I love that you guys are really pushing to recruit the best of the best for these kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Do you then keep people's names on a hiring list, and as you have openings, then you reach out to them again to keep that going?
Yes.
Awesome.
We don't, yeah, if they're good, we don't let them go.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you. 4.5 Superintendent Report, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple items to discuss this evening. First, I have a Culinary Arts Career Academy update. Our Culinary Arts Career Academy will receive some much-needed upgrades over the summer, thanks to some additional funding provided to us via the Rudolph R. Ellis Donor Advised Fund of the Nebraska Community Foundation and the Perkins Grant Program. The Perkins Grant will provide us with just shy of $21,000 for industry-grade ovens, pots and pans, refrigerators, and stainless steel prep tables. The Ellis Grant will provide us with $15,000 to update our existing cabinets and install new countertops, a tile backsplash, and a hand washing station. An additional $45,000, that's an approximate number, will be provided out of district funds to complete the project. What'd I say?
45,000.
Oh, 4,500, that's much better. Sorry.
Few heart stoppages on this side.
An additional $4,500 will be provided out of district funds to complete the project, which will transform our outdated kitchen classrooms into an updated professional learning environment for our Culinary Arts Academy students, making it a great place to learn and perfect their career skills. Second item has to do with our exit survey that we complete with our certified staff. 18 of our certified staff members who are leaving completed the annual exit survey, indicating why they were leaving Norfolk Public Schools. 7, or nearly 40% of them, said that they were leaving due to retirement. 4, or 22%, said it was due to spousal relocation. 2, or 11%, said they wanted to move closer to home. 1, or 5.5%, said it was due to professional advancement. 1 said it was due to better pay and/or benefits. 1 wanted to stay home with their children. 1 wanted a shorter commute and a new opportunity. And 1 said that they were dissatisfied with their current position. 17 staff members answered the question, would you recommend Norfolk Public Schools as a good place to work? And all 17 of them said yes. We also received some valuable feedback via comments, such as how to improve our new teacher mentor program, the importance of our PLCs, ways that we can make our teachers feel more valued, and the increasing demands on teachers' time due to behavioral concerns. In conclusion, I would like to share one quote from the survey. One of the teachers said, "Most of life's happenings for me have taken place while I have worked in this district, and I have learned from every experience. I'm not leaving a school or a building or a desk, but a family that I will truly miss. I am so excited for where the district is going and will miss getting to be a part of it. Change is difficult, especially for those who like things to be the way they have always been. However, I think that the district is moving in a direction that is truly beneficial for students." Are there any questions?
I don't know if this is a question or just a comment, but of course, looking at numbers and statistics, and 17 of the 18 answered the question about recommending NPS, and 1 person did not. I'm always worried about that 1 person who did not answer, particularly because we had 1 person who was dissatisfied with the current position, because and maybe that person made some comments that were helpful and beneficial, but that's the key, is if somebody is dissatisfied, you really want to know, do they still think it's a good place to work, right? Or what thoughts do they have about maybe why they were unhappy? But clearly that, I don't know, I mean, it might have been someone else who didn't answer that question, but you just kind of are led to think that it probably was that person.
And I do, that person did share a lot of information, and I could share that with you. I think that person struggled with behavior management issues in the classroom, and that led to a lot of this dissatisfaction. And that person had applied for other positions in the district and didn't receive them, and so that led to some dissatisfaction as well.
I think it's duly important, 1, to look at those that are dissatisfied, and 2, really pat our administrators and our leaders on the back. 94% satisfied's an A.
That's what I was
That's
gonna
pretty
say.
good. But I think I agree. How do we get it to an A+ for next year? The other thing I wanted to say is I sit on that Perkins Grant Committee, and that is always one of the most fun outside meetings of the year, because the teachers come with just some awesome stuff they want to buy, and finding ways to get it done is cool. And when we can have the Ellis Fund come in with $15,000 like that, we can get a lot of stuff done. So look for some cool projects coming. It's really career and technical education focused. Mickey Mueller used to run it. Eric Wilson runs it now, and it is a really good program of those teachers. They go after cool stuff, but it's all stuff that it will directly impact our students and directly impact their career readiness. So it's a lot of fun.
If I could make one more comment about the teacher survey, that is that survey is given to them. We're not, twisting anybody's arm to take it. But I will say that the ownership and the dedication, even with those folks that were, dissatisfied with the current position, we look for patterns in the themes and the responses, and the theme hit home that Norfolk Public is a really good place to be, and they've appreciated it, even though, as this particular person said, change is hard sometimes. The other part of that I would say, and I appreciate Dr. Thompson's leadership and the collaboration of the principals, almost every theme that was listed as a concern, we are trying to directly address. And part of that is coming back to the mental health awareness issues, the student behavior issues, which you're going to see later. But again, these are very helpful, and I think people were pretty open about things, and I appreciate that, and I know that Dr. Thompson does too.
I'm really glad that we started doing that survey. I think we've done it 2 or 3 years now, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. 4.6, Americanism and Multicultural Reports. Beth Nelson?
Thank you. Attached are the reports, and just in summation, I just want to remind folks that we are in compliance with the School Law 79-274 Americanism, where every building includes a report to me, and they report on how they handle these particular activities in their buildings. They include daily exercises of the Pledge of Allegiance. They include items that involve Constitution Day, Nebraska American Indian Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's birthdays, Statehood Day, Loyalty Day, George Norris Day, and Chief Standing Bear Day. And then there is a new law that will be operating during 1920 school year. The reports will not need to include as many items as those mentioned this year. The appointed Americanism Committee will meet to review the social studies curriculum and to assure that it is aligned with the NDE standards, and the LB 399 this law requires us to meet twice a year, and one of which will include a public testimony, and we will keep minutes of those meetings. And one piece of the law that requires our attention and planning will happen this summer, and I will be in contact with the Americanism Committee before the beginning of the school year to review the law and our plan for our compliance. And multicultural reports have been submitted, and each principal houses the multicultural report of their building, and we are required to report back to our board on this accountability measure that just addresses how many of our lessons followed these different nationalities. So as you can see, the African American, there was 801 lessons, Hispanic American 705, Native American 608, Asian American 462, and European American 1,304. So if you would ever like to review those, you can contact the principals. And I do have electronically saved all of the Americanism reports that have been submitted to me.
Thank you. 5.1, Board Building Visit Reports. Go ahead, somebody.
I'll start. Well, end of school year, there are lots of celebratory events. So I did attend the completion ceremony for students who are aging out of the system. And that's always just a very special event for those students, for their families. It really marks a sense of accomplishment for them. I think it's a marker event, and it certainly is a really important transition for them to move from where they've been and what they've been doing to whatever really is the next chapter in their lives. Also attended the induction for Honor Society students, and I always enjoy attending events where students really are in a leadership capacity. That this was their induction. They provided and gave some speeches, and conducted the ceremony itself. And it was really impressive to see the number of students that we had being inducted into Honor Society. I mean, it really speaks well for the number of exemplary students that we have at Norfolk Public Schools. I also attended the teacher staff appreciation, and I will say personally, as a board member, I think this is one of the most important events for board members to attend and to participate in. Because when it gets right down to it, it doesn't matter how many policies we pass and enact and enforce, but teachers really are the boots on the ground. They are the people who are going to have the greatest impact on the quality of learning for students in our district. So I really think it's important for us to show them that appreciation, both for the length of service to the district, and also really to honor those retirees. It struck me in particular this year, I'm happy for the people who are retiring, but I was just struck by listening to their short little, well, some of them were rather long biographies, but the number of people, the number of teachers who have devoted, if not all of their professional lives to Norfolk Public Schools, a great portion of their professional lives. And you could tell their sense of loyalty when they ended by saying, "Go Panthers," or "Live forever Panthers." These are people who believed and believe in Norfolk Public Schools. And though I'm really glad and happy for them as they're retiring, it also made me kind of sad for Norfolk Public Schools. I stopped counting the number of years of experience and expertise that we are losing, right? It's hundreds of years. And you don't get that back, right? I mean, it's impossible to hire someone back, very seldom anyway, that you can hire a replacement teacher as someone who has 20 or 30 years of experience. That just doesn't happen. So, I guess it's a little concerning to me, because when I look at who we're hiring lots of beginning teachers, lots of novice teachers, and that's just the reality of the way the market is. But it's concerning because those are people who are still learning how to teach. And that has a potential to influence the quality of education in our district. I think we work really diligently to help those beginning teachers become effective. But I think I would feel better if I could just see a list of teachers in our district and how much experience they have, because what I saw was the retirees and then all the new hires. And I know there are people still in there who have experience, but it would really help just to be able to see how many people do we have in the district still who have 20+ years of experience. But really, really a fun event, very thought-provoking event for me.
One different end of the year event I attended that Patty didn't mention was the honors night, which I go to every year because I like it, which my husband went this year because he was forced to, because our daughter was there. But I'm always impressed by the number of students and how hard they work to apply to schools and to receive scholarships. And this year there were an extraordinary amount of kids there, more so than I think maybe we've had in the past. And so I think that's a testament to the Public School Foundation, the guidance office, all the people encouraging kids to think about what their possibilities are after high school. The Career Academy students were recognized, which was fantastic. And a lot of them were in multiple academies, which was fun to see. So you're starting to see more of that now. So that was a great event. And it's only a little over an hour. So if you ever want to check it out, it's not too bad. And of course, I did not cry at graduation, so I feel like that is my most successful report of this month. Thank you.
I didn't cry either because I thought I was going to too. But I think it's wonderful. I think our board is so involved and wonderful, because I think we were all at all those after or May activities, and our calendars were so full. But that is the reward. It's so much fun to go to those things. And like Patty and Tammy said, you could say we were all there. It was awesome. Anybody want to say more awesomeness? No. Policy Committee Report, 5.3, Patty. Oop, I skipped, didn't I? See, I'm moving. 5.2, Facilities and Finance. Mr. Robinson.
We met today at noon and reviewed claims, did the standard stuff. We saw state aid and budget certification, looked at where we're going to be for that. Generally pretty positive. A lot of uncertainty throughout the year with the legislature. And at the end of the day, they pretty much left the funding system in place. So we're thinking we're in a good place going into next year. Obviously looking at what do we do as we're going with the Little Panthers preschool and our other facilities we're working on, and how do we, to Mike's conversations earlier, how do we maintain safety and security at all those locations? We did go tour Little Panthers preschool, so I guess that's technically a board building visit. We should have talked about it. It's a board construction site visit. They are working hard. Judging by the number of people on site, this building is moving quickly. They have a lot to do in the next 2 months, but I think they're going to be ready for students. The school goes from everything from open air, where there's the metal studs up, to painted walls with fixtures that darn near look ready to go for you could move a class in there in the next week or so. So there's a lot of progress been made. As Melissa Jantz said, they're focused on the classroom areas, focused on making sure the student areas are okay. And if she has to office out of the gym cafeteria for a little bit while they're getting everything finished up, she knows that the student areas are number one priority. And you can already see where the safe and secure entrances are and how they've done all those things to build this school correctly. So really nice job by Jim and his crew with Hespy and all the subcontractors that were there working, and they've got a push ahead of them for the next 6-7 weeks, but they can get her done.
And like the rest of you, the last time I was in there, some of you might have been in there, was when we did the walkthrough right before we decided to purchase it. And the vision was amazing, because when you go in there, you are going to I was like, oh my gosh, it is so phenomenal. It is just crazy good. I can't wait till those little kids go in there and they see it, or the teachers have to be so excited. It's going to be the coolest preschool in the whole nation. I'm not kidding you. Wow. It's very cool. I was going to say Nebraska, but that was too low. So. Now, Patty, Policy Committee report.
The Policy Committee met on May 25th to consider recommendations on the 7,000 policies from the Facilities and Finance Committee. We had asked that committee to take a look at these policies because they really relate to major construction projects, and because that's a real purview of that committee, we wanted their opinion. In particular, we wanted them to provide us some feedback and some guidance on policies 7020 and 7021. We are recommending some changes in wording to these policies. The changes really are to make the policies more understandable. So we're not making any substantive changes. But several of the policies, the wording was just very confusing, and we think it's really important to be as clear as possible with these policies. It is important to note that we are recommending a change to the title of policies in the 7,000s. Now it's titled New Construction. However, these policies not only relate to new construction, but to major remodeling projects, such as the Little Panther Preschool. So we just want the title to really reflect what is impacted by the policies. So that's a recommendation there. Our next meeting will be scheduled when we receive our annual policy review from Perry Law Firm. There may be some changes in existing policies. It looks like, when I kind of went through the bills that passed that relate to schools that might have policy changes, it looks like there'd be 5 or 6 probably policies that we'd need to either revise or have new policies. So there will be a little bit of work involved with that. But we'll be meeting again sometime this summer.
I did receive those updates from Perry Law Firm last week, so I'll get those out to you shortly, and we'll try to get a meeting scheduled soon.
Is 5 or 6 about right? Or 20?
It looks like more than that. I
Okay.
think there's some minute changes
Okay.
to a lot of policies that really didn't hit our radar, but we'll have to address.
Thank you, Patty. 5.4, Government Relations Committee, Tammy Day.
The Government Relations Committee has not officially met since the last board meeting, but we were been in constant contact with each other for quite some time, and with senators related specifically to LB 147, which was Senator Groney's discipline bill, and LB 670, which was Linehan's tax credit bill, and a variety of school funding proposals. Overall, I think we were really pleased how the session ended. Only one bill passed that we opposed, and it was amended to be much more palatable. That bill is that Americanism committee bill that Beth referenced. So there will be some things to work out over the summer related to that. There are more specific duties for the committee members and for the American Civics curriculum. There are some requirements that were put in place. So we'll have to look at those and then see this fall. But I don't think we'll meet again until January, so yay. No offense, I like visiting with all of you, but yeah, we had some bills that were bad legislation that didn't pass, and I think we're lucky, and thanks to everyone who worked on those and sent letters and emails and went and talked to legislators, that would not have been the outcome without everyone's input, so it's important work.
Thanks, Tammy.
I think it's really telling if you look at some of the interim studies that are being done this summer. There's one on administrative costs, which is probably not unexpected. There's one on possible curriculum change, financial literacy, which I think is something that you're seeing nationwide. I've seen several national news reports related to that. One on mindfulness, which really ties into the behavioral mental health. I would call it self-regulation, helping people learn how to be aware of yourself and how you're reacting to your environment. So it'll be really interesting, I think, to see what comes from those. I mean, having those interim studies doesn't absolutely mean that there will be legislation, but a lot of times there is legislation that comes out of those.
Thanks, Patty. 5.5, Activities Committee Report, Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. As with the previous committee, we haven't met since the last school board meeting, and we'll not meet until the end of August, so it'll be a quiet and peaceful summer for that committee.
Okay, Bob. 5.6, minutes of committee meetings, and they are all attached. 6.1, minutes of previous meetings, minutes from May 13th and May 23rd, meetings are attached for you to look at. Whoops. 6.2, contract approvals.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have 3 contracts for your consideration this evening, starting with Elizabeth Edmiston, a 4th grade teacher at Jefferson Elementary. She was recently a student teacher at Norfolk Middle School. Carla Knight, Norfolk Public Schools deaf educator. She is currently a sign language interpreter for our district. And Nicole Williams, a 3rd grade teacher for Westside Elementary. She currently teaches 1st grade in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Thank you. And yay, 6.2, no resignations. 6.3, claims. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Attached are the claims from the month of June. They were reviewed earlier today by our Finance Facility Committee, and there is one conflict statement on a specific claim that needs to be read before voting.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Bruce and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest. Thus, I am abstaining from voting on claim number 427 for the month of June in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item number 427, which I've identified, or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. Action item 7.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the first reading of Board Policy 7000 to 7052 related to major construction.
Thank you. As Dr. Patty Goebbels explained earlier, both the Policy Committee and the Finance and Facilities Committee have reviewed these policies and have made a few minor changes, including a change to the title. They are recommending that the first reading be approved tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of Board Policies 7000 to 7052 related to major construction.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion by Bruce and a second by Bob. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the speech language pathologist evaluation. Mr. Hart.
Let me get the mic. If you look at the document, one of the things that we want to do is each of the teacher groups, i.e. special ed, regular ed, counselor, school psych, have their own document that specifically is tailored to what they do. Excuse me. Speech language pathologist did not have that. We were using part of the SPED document and part of the speech pathology, but the consistency with what we were using was not where we wanted to be. So collaboratively with the group of SLPs, we got together and they said, hey, we really want to have something that encompasses what we do a little bit better. And so that's together came up with this, aligned it with our current evaluation system, used the same type of scoring rubric, similar components, and the domains remain the same. A little bit different in the sense of classroom environment instead of its learning environment, but for the most part, it's a better representation of what they do. And then, so I would entertain any questions with that. And I did get some feedback from Tammy, a couple people, about just some other things maybe to look at, consistency of wording on that. But for the most part, we want to know what proficient is. We want to know where distinguished is, and we want to make sure that people are aware of the expectations about what's not satisfactory.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, because it is really important that evaluations are tied to people's position descriptions, you know.
Are we full now? Have all those spots filled?
No, ma'am. You want to talk about that? But it's not from lack of Mary trying.
Sorry,
Oh,
Mary.
it just makes me cry. We haven't filled as far as contracted positions, but not all of them are hired by us at this point.
Again, the best case scenario is that we have our own people highly trained, but if not, we make it work, because we want to always make it in the best interest of our kids. So Mary's found some creative staffing solutions to make it work.
I make a motion to approve the speech language pathologist evaluation.
Second.
I have a motion by Tammy and a second by Arnie. Is there any additional discussion?
If this is approved tonight, I will send it on to the Nebraska Department of Education for approval. It won't become official until they have approved it as well.
Okay,
We can update you when that happens as well.
please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve comprehensive mental health behavior plan. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. We have seen a drastic increase in mental health issues and behavioral concerns across our nation. Norfolk Public Schools is no exception to that. Increasing mental health and behavior issues has been noted in every listening lunch and every staff survey for the last several years. We have watched our legislature with great interest as they have debated this issue via multiple bills in the last several years, hoping that they would provide schools with some financial assistance to hire mental health practitioners and/or social workers. Unfortunately, our senators have not been able to agree on the best course of action, which has left that decision and that cost to districts to address on their own. Each of our elementary schools and our middle school has developed a team of administrators, teachers, and counselors who have been studying multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS, and positive behavior interventions and support, PBIS, over the course of the last year. They have attended multiple training and planning sessions, including one today, and they will begin implementation in the 2019-2020 school year. This systematic approach utilizes a tier system of supports and intervention strategies to prevent behavior issues and support students with mental health issues. The vast majority of these student needs are met within tiers 1 and 2 via supports and intervention strategies provided by our existing teachers, counselors, and administrators. However, students with significant needs require more intensive tier 3 interventions, which are beyond our teachers, school counselors, and administrators' expertise. These must be provided by licensed mental health practitioners. Here comes my proposal. Licensed mental health practitioners are needed at all levels, from preschool to 12th grade. This need has been recognized by our community and is a priority of the Community Coalition. They have become key players in helping us to develop a plan to meet these needs. If approved by the board, the following services would be provided next year. At the preschool level, the Norfolk Family Coalition has a grant to purchase the needed equipment to host Parent-Child Interaction Therapy, or PCIT, yet another acronym for you, Bob, with Midtown Health providing these services to our preschool-age students via a grant at no financial cost to our district. We would simply need to provide them with a space to meet with families. Services at this level are family-oriented due to the age of the students. At the elementary level, Midtown Health would provide us with a licensed mental health practitioner to serve our elementary students, again via a grant at no financial cost to our district. We would simply, again, need to provide them with a space to meet with our students within each building, which would be more complicated in some buildings than others, but all of our administrators have said they would gladly make that work. Even Tricia Andreessen said she would give up her office to do that. At the middle school and junior high level, Oasis Counseling has agreed to provide us with a licensed mental health practitioner to serve our middle school and junior high students, again at no cost to us. Services for these students would be billed to the family's insurance or covered by other community resources. At the senior high level, we would contract with Educational Service Unit number 8, which is our ESU, for a licensed mental health practitioner to serve those students. This would cost us approximately $86,000. That's all-inclusive salary and benefits. That person I see being our lead licensed mental health practitioner who would help us coordinate and supervise services throughout the district. Some other things to consider is that it is possible that we could need more licensed mental health practitioners down the road, but we feel this is a very reasonable and financially conservative place to start. If we found that additional services were needed, we would reach out to additional community partners, such as other counseling agencies within the community, to see if they would be interested in providing services via the arrangement that we have with OASIS. We do not anticipate hiring social workers at this time, although we do have students who need social services. We have identified mental health services as our first priority. We will continue to rely on our teachers, counselors, administrators, and now licensed mental health practitioners to refer students and families to outside agencies for social services at this time. Looking forward, typically I put staffing requests into my strategic growth plan, but due to timing with these community agencies and grants and hiring, I need to ask for this now. So looking ahead, my strategic growth plan would include the cost of the licensed mental health practitioner listed above, and I am anticipating it will also include a behavioral specialist who would coordinate and implement MTSS and PBIS district-wide and serve as an expert who would help brainstorm appropriate strategies for our students who are not responding to typical classroom behavior management strategies and interventionist. That behavioral specialist would not be in place until the 2020-2021 school year. I am asking you to approve this comprehensive mental health behavior plan, including the contract with ESU 8, OASIS, and Midtown Health for licensed mental health practitioners across our district. This is a vital step to ensuring a safe and positive learning environment for our students and staff, and another example of the strong relationships and partnerships that we have developed throughout the Norfolk community. Based on our recent state aid certification, we would be able to easily accommodate this cost into our 2019-2020 budget and beyond. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. May also refer you to Mary Luer and Bill Robinson, who have been key in helping to put this plan together.
I think the community collaboration is incredible. That's wonderful. Do we have any idea how long the Midtown Health grant is for?
Yes, that is a very good question. They would be applying for a startup grant and then putting that within their ongoing expenses. So we do not anticipate that there would be a risk of the grant going away, so to say, and us having to take on that responsibility.
I'm assuming that they're fairly confident that they will get the grant, right? I mean, because that would certainly blow up a lot of this plan if they didn't.
Yes, I mean, they cannot absolutely 100% guarantee that, but they feel pretty confident, yes.
And I did notice on the preschool part of it, with the behavior thing, it says part of that is to pay for equipment. I was just curious about what equipment is included.
So, when they first presented it to me, Melissa had been approached, what they talk about, what it is you have a bud in the parent's ear and then a counselor telling you what to say to the child. So you have a two-way mirror kind of thing before. And they approached about, maybe we could do that in our new building. And I said, I'm pretty sure Bill will say no. And so, but they have cameras that you put a camera in this room, and then the therapist is in the other room that can see the interactions, and then they do that. So that's the equipment that they would buy, is the cameras and things like that.
So they're actually helping the parents learn how to intervene at the preschool level with their own
Yes.
students? That's wonderful.
Yeah, so like you're a parent and your child's, doing something, they're in your ear saying, here's what you should say, here's what you should do when your child, hands you this block, those kinds of things.
No, that's great. I mean, because who teaches people how to be parents? Sometimes no one. So I love that idea, and I love the partnership with the other organizations as well. Because we are very conservative and mindful of our resources, and I like the idea of seeing how, as a community, we can address issues that come up around safety and security and teacher retention and all kinds of things. So thank you for thinking outside the box.
One thing is we do have some cost in here, and it fits in a little bit of what you talked about earlier, because we have some newer staff replacing more experienced staff, but this cost would easily fit into the existing budget of that staffing plan because of attrition, that you can't guarantee what's gonna happen, but, it would fit in that, even if state aid wasn't better, so. I mean, that's a piece of that too. Mrs. Laura and I did meet with Oasis extensively, and more on, I kind of wanted to hear the business side of it, and I was really impressed with just hearing the other side of it too. And basically, I'm going to hire this person regardless if this comes together. That's how strongly I feel about having this need. So.
Well, no, I think this is a one. Money, as you. Going to feel comfortable with what we're going to promise to each other.
We are working with our attorneys on the contracts as well as the permission slips that we need in order to have these licensed mental health practitioners work with our students, because we are cognizant that there can be some liability in these situations, and we want to limit that as much as possible. And so absolutely, we're working with our attorneys.
This be a teacher referral, or can a parent refer? What's a referral?
We have not worked through all of that yet because we didn't want to put the, cart before the horse. We want to make sure that we have your permission to move forward. From the school side, I anticipate that teachers would make the initial referral to either the school counselor or the administrator, who would then make a decision on whether that should go on to the licensed mental health practitioner. Otherwise, we could just flood that person with needs that may or may not be appropriate. And we need to talk about the parent piece. I think that would be an option as well, definitely.
I would think as it comes together as a plan, by the time it reaches the need for a licensed mental health practitioner, we probably already better have the parents, the teacher, the counselor, and the administrator at the table. And I would assume that would already be going on as standard practice. So I think it's going to be a matter of you guys ironing out how it gets administered. I think stepping forward and instead of just waiting for the legislature to tell us what we have to do, working with our community about what we can do is a great job by our team here, and really taking a step forward for our students, as we always need to be.
That's a good point, and we met with administrators this morning, and they were very thankful that we have put this plan in place, felt that would be a huge relief to them in some of the struggles that they have in the building. But second, we talked about the need to make this a part of that MTSS process. You do have the different tiers, so the teachers, the counselors, the administrators are working on plans and interventions, seeing if they're successful. If not, they move up to the next level and put in more interventions and strategies and supports. And then at some point, if they're not successful, then we would make the referral to the licensed mental health practitioner.
The one little caveat that I would give to that is that our intent in working with the community resources and how they would fund the time that we use the therapist within our MTSS process is that they would be sitting at our team table the entire time. So they are giving us interventions and strategies long before we get a kid to that level. But that's one of the community resources that we would access through the coalition, and Juvenile Accountability are always willing to help us in keeping our kids safe and on track. Absolutely.
So you'll have a process in place for pretty much everybody, we're gonna do step A and step B, step D.
If you would have seen our principal's eyes glass over today when we were going over those steps, yep, we're gonna have it there, but
It'd be
it,
district-wide, so
Correct.
it is consistent from building to building.
correct.
Okay.
And
good.
everybody's on board with it. Would you say that, Beth?
Right, and when we say multi-tiered systems of support, like, that has a lot of moving parts. And they all, basically, our foundation, what we're trying to develop is a process that's consistent, and then whatever it is, if it's an academic thing, if it's a behavioral thing, we're following a process that systematically takes kids through, and helps teachers and principals. It's a big piece of communication. Are we on the same page? Are we doing what we said we were gonna do here for us? What can we do? Okay, we gotta take this to the next level for whatever it is, but in this situation, behavior.
Kind of what Bob was saying earlier, I think it really, because the last 10 days, this thing really just kind of bubbled. It's like, we got to get moving. But Mary's already reached out to some other districts, has done some pilots, and I think she's got some good stuff to run by the attorneys. And we're not new to this. We have some great arrangements with our resource officers, with the hospital on training services at the high school. I see a lot of similarities here. And I feel this is just going to kind of go right into that route. And I think early on, it's good that it's their employees, and then we're walking before we run here.
Again, I think this is wonderful. I think it can't do anything but help kids. The only thing I see that could cause a small problem is I know our principals are maybe a little bit stressed and just more of these duties, especially something as new and as complicated and complex as this one is. I think we just got to keep an eye on them, and they might need them.
That is interesting. We did talk about the fact that maybe our staff would say, what about me? But we do have the employee assistance program available for staff that, but I think it's an important point because there is stress for our employees and we want to make sure that we're supporting them too. And there is a process in place and we want to make sure we reiterate that because I think they forget that it's there.
I'm just concerned that our administrators, and they're all good people, please understand that. That's my belief anyway. And I just see more and more coming to their plates, and their plates are very full now. And we just got to be cognizant of that. And at some point in time, if we keep moving with these programs and stuff, we're going to have to take a look at providing some sort of assistance to them. I don't know what that would be, but, they just, I think, can feel overwhelmed once in a while.
I think, though, on the flip side of that, Bob, administrators have much distress when they have children that don't have the supports they need. So maybe they're trading one stress for another, but I think once you learn the procedure, then it becomes more commonplace, and so that stress diminishes. I think every teacher and administrator in this district is probably so thankful that we have found an innovative way to help address the kinds of problems that we're seeing in students. And I think it's really to this team's credit that we listen to them, right? We waited a little bit to see if we would get some help from and through the legislature, but we're not waiting anymore. And I think that speaks volumes for how much we care about the kids in this district, but also about our staff.
And I don't disagree with that, Patty. You're absolutely correct. I'm just wanting them to watch those glossy eyes.
And we are. We ended.
There's a couple of them over there.
That team is super strong and they are always willing to come to the table. And when you saw their faces today, when Jamie Jo shared the news that we might be able to provide, you could see the light and the spark was there.
All right, with that, I will move that we approve the comprehensive mental health behavior plan.
Second the motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Arnie and a second. A great discussion. Any others? Please vote.
Carried 6-0.
Can I make one comment?
Absolutely.
I would like to thank you on behalf of our staff. I know that they will be extremely appreciative of this resource. And I would also like to publicly thank Oasis Counseling, particularly Mark Storbelt, Midtown Health, particularly Kathy Norby, and United Way, Candy Allen, for helping us to put this together and make this a reality for our students and our families.
That's such a great community collaboration. Future meetings. Our next meeting will be the second meeting of the month, tentatively scheduled for Thursday, June 27th at 12 noon at the central office here. The regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, July 8th. The business meeting will begin at 5:30. This is a summer change. All components of this meeting will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Administration Office and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual. With that, we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation as necessary to protect the interest of the district.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation as necessary to protect the interest of the district.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Bruce. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary.
Would it be possible for us to go into recess until our attorney arrives and then start our executive session?
Yes. We will now go into recess at 6:39. What time are they coming?
And there will be no action tonight as a result of the executive session.